but make the playoff, that Ryan Day still can be gone. Because now all of a sudden you're thinking to yourself, if I can't beat this team back-to-back weeks, what with all this talent, what is going to make you think that Ryan Day can make a far run in the playoffs when there's going to be similar quality competition, just similar to Michigan, who we all can agree they're not going to be as good, at least on paper, talented-wise. They're not going to be as good as they were last year with the amount of experience and productivity that's going to be leaving this team. They're going to be a lot younger, but they're not going to be as experienced. You lose Will McDonald, you're losing Jim Harbaugh, you're losing JJ McCarthy. There's no way if that happens, I'm not taking that dude to war. If you can't win the battle, how the hell do you expect me that we're going to recover from this? You're gone. And I'm going to promote Brian Hartline to be my head coach. Simple put as that. So there's a lot of pressure that's being put on Ryan Day this year, regardless of what happens in the regular season or not. And we're gonna have to see. But yeah, there's a lot of scenarios, man, that even if they make the playoffs, he could still not be there. And so yeah, we're gonna see, man. But Ryan Day, the biggest criticism for him, game management. Can't manage a game.
And it's interesting, Jay, because what's the biggest criticism of Mario Cristobal?
Can't manage a game. Literally cannot manage a game. Even if all you have to do is just take a kneel down, can't manage the game.
Twice.
Can I jump in on this real quick on this conversation that's going on in the chat?
Oh boy.
What it's worth, Venables is 16-10 at OU. Yeah, after Riley had 2 5-star quarterbacks leave along the same time that he did, and he went over there and won his 11 games and went 7-5 the second year with his Heisman Trophy winner. Don't come in here talking about how Lincoln is better than freaking Brent Venables. Venables turned it around with his own guys, but he got left. He didn't get left a great situation. The people that talk about him being left an 11-2 freaking program are out of their damn mind. It was nowhere close to that. It was a
far more nuanced of a conversation than that. Yeah. And dang, I do agree. Clay Helton left USC in a terrible position. But here's the argument, Jason, that I think is even more impactful. Brent is improving.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Brent won. What was Brent's record this year, Jason?
10-3.
Okay. Brent is improving. USC regressed this year with a Heisman Trophy guy. And I'm not stating that to say like, oh, hit the red button at US. Although we can have that cover. One of them is a first-time head coach inheriting a blue blood program, right? Figuring it out, just won 10 games. The other guy is not in a first-time head coaching position, inherited USC, which I agree. I dang Trojan, I do agree with you. They weren't in a good position.
Numbers. Look at the recruiting numbers too.
They weren't in a good position. But one of them is improving and the other is regressing. And now you're going into a conference that's far more physical than the Pac was. And our biggest question about that style of physicality. So we can look at the overall numbers. And I'm not saying that that's not an argument. It's certainly an argument that can be made. It's certainly a conversation that can be had. But Jason, I think that the far more impactful answer to that question is, what is the trajectory of both programs, right? And that's where one of them is improving. And I'm not saying that USC won't improve, but USC has some major barriers that they have to get through right now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you can talk about the schedule all you want to, because bottom line is that they're headed into the SEC this year. And that 17-8 record that they're talking about in there, as compared to 16-10. Okay, fine. You also lost. You haven't beaten Kyle Whittingham yet. 0-3 against him with a Heisman Trophy winner. You lost to Tulane. You know, don't tell me that this is all well and good. They were a freaking missed 2-point conversion away from going 6-0 to 0-6 last season with the Heisman Trophy winner. So don't tell me how great Lincoln is, and he can't even lock down the state of California that USC used to own. in recruiting. He hasn't beaten Brent Venables one time in recruiting. In fact, even the year that he left, he saved a number 8 class when he first got there. Within a month, he saved it. So then he turns around and he goes for the second season when he got Jackson Arnold, Peyton Bowen. Hey, he's gotten more 5-star quarterbacks in recruiting than Lincoln has since he got to USC. The bottom line is that he's out there out recruiting him cycle after cycle, doing exactly what Lincoln Riley said you couldn't do at Oklahoma, which was his reason to leave, is you can't recruit elite talent, particularly on the defense.
Yeah,
and
that's scathing to me.
Like that, and then get over there and not even keep the guys in LA. You're not even keeping the LA kids in LA. They're all going to Oregon too. Or hey, guess what? Oklahoma too. Look at Oklahoma's class right now. There's some California kids in there.
Look at Bama's class. It's
Facts.
loaded.
If you don't have, what did we talk about with Georgia and the whole deal with when they started losing all these kids to Georgia, back to them, Justice Terry, and you know, you're still, everybody seems to think that Juju's still a lock there. Who's to say if they go 7-5 again or 8-4 in the Big Ten in year one? Who's going to stay there? How do you know that Juju's not just using USC for leverage to get more money out of somebody else, or waiting to see what's going to end up happening? They're recruiting so horribly right now. They're not holding on to anybody that you can't even, whoever they have committed right now, you can't buy into them staying. Nobody's staying.
Marcus Harris didn't get offered a scholarship. I don't know. I got to check now if he did, but when we made our video, man, I had to go off. He didn't get he didn't get offered a scholarship. He's right in your backyard, and he got nothing from them. And that's the problem, man. He is killing the relationships with these. I don't know what he's doing, but these relationships, and the rumors are heating up more and more. But North Cali and South Cali, these coaching staff, they're not rocking with Lincoln Riley. They're not rocking with this coaching staff. I don't know what the hell he's doing down there, but they're damaging the relationships.
I think that's a good point. It's interesting to see from a recruiting standpoint, like how come things are not picking up for them. I do think though that the turnaround for his defensive coaching staff's a big part of that. I'll tell you, you bring in a bunch of these guys, and a lot of them have come from what I think it's like NFL and whatnot, which it's a little different, right? NFL, you're not going out recruiting players. So we can say that maybe their relationship building style when you have guys in the NFL is a little different than high schoolers coming into college. So maybe that's just something of growth in time that maybe they get better. But I do think that USC, I think that this year will determine a lot for them going forward future wise, right? Like not so much in impact with their recruiting class. Granted, I think it will, right? Like if they win this year and they're showing the signs of improvement, especially from the defensive side, then they are going to get some wins in the recruiting aspect. I mean, because players are going to see that. USC also is a brand name. We can't forget, like USC has the history, what's been around with USC has been there for a long time. And when they win, everybody seems to be like, boom, right back and focused on SC again. So if they are able to do that this year, I think you are going to see a lot better results for recruiting. I'm not necessarily going to pull back what they were pulling from Georgia. I think that's hard to do when you're going all the way east and trying to get majority of roster out of the South when you're in the West Coast, especially California. It's just different places, man. Like the West Coast compared to the South, to the East Coast, to the Midwest. The West Coast is unique, put it that way. Just being from here and playing up here. So I'll tell you that they probably need to focus more what's closer to home, right? But it will definitely be interesting to see how they do this year in the results. I think they could see some decent results. Granted, it's going to be hard with what they have on roster, but I think with what they have defensively from a coaching staff standpoint, I have to give Lincoln Riley credit from that standpoint of saying, okay, there's some changes I need to make. And he's made some appropriate changes with guys who are really talented coaches. So if they can get that buy-in from especially on the defensive side of the ball, they should be
Can
all
I
right.
ask you something, Jake?
Yeah, good.
So what coach has been talking about a lot is, does it really matter that you got, these coaches that came in if you're not going to play complimentary football?
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't shown an ability to do that either. It's not just about the hires. We can put all this on Alex Grinch all you want to, but the truth is he also didn't take, or he did take and didn't fire, his strength and conditioning coach, who we watched make Oklahoma smaller every year that Lincoln was there. That 6 and 7 was coming whether or not he was gone or not.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Complimentary football.
Maybe not the first year, maybe not last year, because you would have had Caleb Williams still. But if he would have stayed around and had the nerve to go to the SEC, then it would have happened immediately, because they were not going to be ready for the SEC with Lincoln Riley recruiting the way he does. No,
I agree with you again. Like what he had, no, that was not going to be the case at Oklahoma. He was not a good look. Oklahoma and him do not fit. Okay. Like that. There are coaches we can go through this. It's like, it'd be like labeling head coaches. What movie would each head coach be? Right. And Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma, even when I look, and then labeling the program, I guess also what movie they would be. Right. Because how do they mesh? Brent Venables fits at Oklahoma. That's why he's going to be successful, because of his mindset and his philosophy. It fits perfect. To be honest, I don't know where anybody thinks that Brent Venables is not going to be successful at Oklahoma. He is going to be successful. Everything he's done up to this point has prepared him now for takeoff, right? I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but you're going to see success. I do think, though, in the craziest way, that Lincoln Riley does fit at USC. I think what he wants to do and what he's kind of trying to go towards, it will be interesting to see again how they mesh this defense. We have not seen it yet with his offensive style, but I think going forward, the fit there could work as long as, again, he makes a few other adjustments that he didn't necessarily make in the past. And that's growth, right? Because you have to see growth in a coach. It doesn't matter who you are. Everyone has to see evolution in a coach, right? We have to watch them continue to evolve and adapt. So Keilon DeBoer did it, going to Alabama with his staff. I think Lincoln is trying to make that move right now, and this season will be a very big tell where we go from there. So.
Yeah, Mars, it's easier for me to say this. Mars saying, show me about Alabama being wide receiver U. Bama is the only university in college football that has gone back-to-back NFL drafts, putting not one but two wide receivers in the first round of the NFL draft. Then they doubled up that third year with Jamison Williams, who was coming off of an injury, as was John Mechie. Had John Mechie not gotten hurt, there's a very good chance they go 3 drafts with 2 wide receivers in the first round of the NFL draft. Devontae Smith has a Heisman. Alabama is one of the top teams all time in terms of Biletnikoff's one. Now, they're not at the top of Biletnikoff's, but as we currently sit here and talk, I think it's very hard not to put Alabama as wide receiver U just because of what they have done over the past 8 years. Yeah, all respect, Mars. I know whenever I'm talking to you, Mars, you're one of those that even if you disagree with me, we're going to have a good conversation.
I think there's plenty of reasons to talk about a bunch of teams as wide receiver use. There's more than one of them if you really want to get down to it, because of the fact that look at the guys that LSU's putting into the league lately.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Look at the guys
incredible.
Ohio State as well. Same thing. You know, they put guys in there year after year after year. Oklahoma has as well. Those CeeDee Lamb, D.D. Westbrook. There's a lot of guys that are in the league that or have been in the league at some point, have, that we're really getting after. The bottom line is you're going to put guys in situations that, at all of these schools, you can't really go wrong. You can say the same thing about, Clemson hasn't been doing it lately, but up until the last few years, they were putting guys in the league like crazy too from the wide receiver position. So I think it's fair to have that. You don't have to agree on all of it. I think that obviously when you look at just sheer, yes, you have the Heisman, You had and the number one draft pick guys. I get it. And it is what it is. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, look, bottom line is what position has Alabama not dominated lately? You know, and that even you could maybe say quarterback, but they put quarterbacks in the league too. You know what I mean? It's not like you're not getting those guys out there too. You got first rounders more than once. I mean, there's 3 in the last like 5 years that have won in the first round from Alabama. You know, that doesn't mean that Oklahoma hadn't done the same thing. You know, you've got a lot of places that you could argue, but I would say that with Alabama's dominance, of course they're getting the best players. It is what it is. You know, I got to get guys, but thanks for having me on, and you guys are welcome to jump in with me whenever you finish here as well. But thanks for having me, Ty.
Absolutely, man.
All right,
Absolutely.
Jason.
Have a good one, fellas.
All right. You too, man.
So as we're kind of winding down, we'll do a few more topics, probably 2 more, because I have the Bama Standard in a little bit less than an hour. Be sure to catch me over there.
Ooh,
but
that's good.
I want to do 2 more topics, guys. I want to react to the updated rankings because I have a little bit of a bone to pick. I want to hit this comment right here. Anthony, where are you? I know you had a good one that I wanted to hit.
Man, Chris had one too earlier too.
Yeah, Chris. Yeah, let me go to this right here. Oh, God. Keilon Russell will regret dissing Auburn. Auburn by 40. Thank you for the $2 donation, Chris. Chris Griffin, ladies and gentlemen, loves to troll me and Jance about Auburn, and he trolls Jance about the Bills. So
love it. Love Chris. Chris, good dude.
Yee.
Yee.
No, Chris is a great guy. Horns Down podcast. Be sure to go show him some love. Love Chris over here. So I want to talk about 2 things. Because last week, Chris, actually, it's a topic you posed last week. Is Texas recruiting in trouble? And I answered, and I was like, no, man, it's early. It's one of those things where we're in July. They've got some big battles ahead of them, and they've lost on a few really big battles. Let's be honest. Let's call it what it is. They've lost on a few really big battles. So I wanted to revisit this conversation. Is Texas recruiting in trouble? And this is a tough one for me to answer, guys. Because I think that you could argue this both ways. Let me be very clear here. Yep, for sure, Steven. We got to definitely give a shout out to Squad Blitz. That's going to be something awesome. Want to have Josh back on the stream here very soon because, I think they're doing some really great things over there. Tell him, Trojan. You tell him, Trojan. You tell him. That's right. Because, guys, I want to be fair. If this was USC and they were losing some of the battles in the manner that Texas... And listen, USC did. And we called USC out for it. Ole Miss had a bunch of decommitments. We called them out for it, right? We had that conversation here. And we've always predicated those conversations on saying, hey, it's early. It's early. So take what we're saying with the thought of it's early. But at the same time, Texas is coming out of a college football playoff appearance. There is an immense amount of talent in the state of Texas. It is still very early. They have got an incredible NIL fund. So do I think Texas fans need to panic? No. Do I think you could be disappointed? Sure. Sharma was a guy you really wanted, right? And then you had a guy flip from Texas to LSU. You don't want that. And I understand he had the relationship with Bo Davis. Right. That's unfortunate, but that's what relationships are in recruiting, right? That one right there, I can't necessarily go at Texas for because Bo Davis is the one that recruited him. Bo Davis had that relationship. Bo Davis goes to LSU. We know who Bo Davis is.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Texas, it's fair to say, hey, you can be disappointed, but I'm still on the fence of like, hey, it's too early to say Texas recruiting is in trouble. It's still way too early. They have NIL. They're coming off of a playoff appearance. They've recruited very well every year with Sark. They've taken some losses, no doubt about it, but there's still time. DeCorian Moore is still in the state of Texas, right? He's still going to be playing his high school football in the state of Texas. He still has teammates that are on that Texas Longhorns team that you probably will imagine are going to be like, hey, man, would love to have you over here. So, Jake,
Yeah.
I'm going to pass this to you because I want to be fair.
Mhm.
And we have talked and kind of talked about some of the things that USC hasn't been able to do in recruiting. We've kind of talked about Ole Miss having those decommitments. And so I don't want to be unfair and be like, oh, well, it's no big deal. If it's Texas, it stings. But I do think this is a little bit different whenever we turn to the nuance of the conversation. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it is interesting, right? Because you feel like with Texas, especially with what they've done under Sarkisian, because he has come in and done a great job with the program, you would feel like they'd lock down the state a little more. Granted, I don't think they're necessarily doing a terrible job or that they're messing all this up. I just think that it might take some time, especially right now. It's interesting. NIL era plays a unique role. Like maybe Texas is kind of pulling back a little bit from like what they're willing to pay. Granted, I don't know the details on that. That'll be an interesting one. It could also be, what they're going after. Like, what does their depth look like? Again, I would have to go in depth to look at Texas's roster to see, okay, because maybe some guys are saying that the guys that they're going after are more so guys who really want to push for either playing time, or are they going after guys who outside of their state who are just too, they have their relationships that they built are very solid with other teams and coaches. You know what I mean? So it's hard to sit there and put your finger on which issue it could be, right? And I don't necessarily know if this is an issue in the long run, because one thing we have to think about is with Texas is there are still a lot of players out there is it because maybe they're not just making a crazy push for all these guys right now, and they're going to try maybe go like what Saban used to do, right? Saban's push came really towards the end of the year, right? Closer to signing periods. He was really smart about that, a very good closer. Does Texas say, okay, we're going to go in, we're going to focus on especially right now, right? Like, because, the dead period is coming soon. But as far as, hey, are we going to go in and we're going to focus on what we're going to do as a team, get these guys ready to roll, get us on track as far as our season goes, and we're going to continue to pursue recruiting, but maybe we're just not going to go as crazy as maybe you're seeing other programs do, right? There's some different strategies in place maybe for that. So I don't want to necessarily say Texas is like screwing up major, but maybe they're also saying, okay, we didn't get some of the wins we wanted. This Khalil Lockett one is going to be an interesting one for them. Nick Townsend, tight end, is another one. I mean, it looks like he's leaning towards Texas, but okay. To August 20th is quiet period. Got you, Stephen. Maybe I was thinking of it the wrong way. Maybe I was also thinking of the from a dead period of the one for next year, because I think I just read that August 1st it changed from July 1st to the end of July. That's what I'm thinking about, Stephen, for the dead period. So that's next year's dead period. But I'll tell you, man, it just will be interesting to see for them if they pick it back up and go hardcore, or if the majority of what they've identified for this period of the recruiting is like, okay, we've hit on a few, we've missed on others. Let's step back. Let's look at what else we can identify. And then from there, right? Then from there, we shoot forward and we say, okay, we're going to go after this hard as we work through. You know what I mean? It will be interesting. And the Fasusi thing, I did see that with Fasusi. I saw someone brought up a comment regarding Fasusi, and that is a interesting battle. I just saw that he was a lean towards Oklahoma, though. Like someone just gave him a crystal ball, I thought, towards Oklahoma with Fasusi.
Always so fascinating
It
whenever
is,
bitter
man.
rivals are going into
Mhm.
into battle for the same top tier prospect. That's when we got to watch Lockett. Great point on that one, Jake. So I completely agree with you, man. And I think that the most apt way to say this is if you're a Texas fan, you can be disappointed with some of the losses,
Mhm.
but I wouldn't worry, right? Like you're coming off of a Big 12 championship. You're coming off of a playoff appearance. You have a great NIL fund right now. Sark knows how to recruit. You still have Kyle Flood. You still have Jeff Banks. You still got some really heavyweight recruiters on that. Sooner Cowboys says Haywood. Didn't an OU mod just put in a crystal ball? And I'm asking, like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought I saw, I hope, because no. You let us get Haywood, Sooner Cowboys. You let us get Haywood. But I am seriously asking. I thought one of the OU guys had put in a crystal ball for Haywood to Alabama. I might have seen someone else do it. But yeah, CB to Bama. Gotcha. So
I see Eric D. Do you see Eric D's comment? Alabama's the one team that Texas fears. I don't know. I don't know if they feel. I feel like also Oklahoma is another team they definitely fear.
yeah, I think respect is one of
Respect
the
is
words,
better.
right?
Yeah.
I think that's the word. I think that Texas respects Alabama recruiting. I think Texas is aware of Oklahoma's threats. I think they respect it. I think that they respect what Oregon is doing right now. And I did want to hit this right here. Anthony talking about fans are panicking way too soon. I agree with you. They're in a good spot for Jamie French. I think I agree with you. I 100% agree with you there. That's why I can't in good faith say that Texas is in trouble. I can't go that far. I also wanted to hit this one right here before I pass it to Jay, saying, panel, what's scary is Mario has better connections with high school coaches in both Northern and Southern California. Mario's a hell of a recruiter, man. Mario is a hell of a recruiter. That's not our issue with Mario Cristobal. Recruiting isn't it. It's game management. It's getting over the hump for the Canes, right? That's the question. Recruiting, Mario's an elite recruiter. CJ, I told you, you wrote us off too soon, man. You wrote us off too soon. You thought it was going to be all hate, and what did you get? You got a good discussion where we acknowledged, hey, you've taken some losses. Every team out there has. Bama really wanted to flip Ivan Taylor from Notre Dame. He ends up flipping to Michigan. That's recruiting. But it's too early to say Texas is in trouble. Jay, I'm interested in hearing your perspective on this.
Yeah, Texas is gonna. It's a short version. Texas is gonna be fine. I have no worry about what they're doing right now. Of course, if we take a look at a lot of their NIL videos, a lot of the Lamborghinis and Bentleys and Bugattis, and especially if you're a Texas guy out there, you guys know about the Venom F5s that they kind of got out there. They're gonna be fine. Right now, yes, slow period. But it is what it is. I mean, trust me. I mean, we got into December. Texas has a gold mine in terms of great prospects. Like I said, a lot of these football players right now, this is what we don't talk about, right? Camp setting is dying right now. So they're not really going out there as much. They're with their football teams. They're preparing for football, right? We got high school football riding the loops. We all know how the Duncanvilles, the North Shores, the Denton Ryans of the world, like this is what we're going to go towards. So, a lot of these kids, they don't really have recruiting on their mind right now. And so we just got to wait for this to play out. I think another thing too is that, again, we got to remember that Texas did lose some key guys on the coaching side that did leave to other schools. And so it might not be as easy to replace those guys. Again, it's going to take a little bit of adjustment period, but I mean, they got 13 commitments. That's pretty good.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, 13 guys. I mean, like I said, Texas, in my opinion, because they had a large room, including with their transfer portal, they're probably going to take maybe 24, 25 guys that I think they'll do right now. But trust me, let me tell you something. I mean, there's certain schools right now that have 3-4 guys committed that are very good power programs. Now, Texas is, in terms of recruiting, right? They are one of the elite schools out there, but 13 commitments so far, that's pretty solid. It'd be understandable if they have 4 or 5, but you got 13 guys that are committed, and they're very good, talented guys. Like, these aren't slouch players. These are very talented individuals that have extreme upside. So, I wouldn't be too worried about recruiting right now. They're doing fine. Would it be? Are they on a level as Ohio State, as Alabama? No, but guess what? Rutgers is top 12 in recruiting. Will Rutgers be top 12 by the end of this year? No, they're not. We all know they're not. They're going to be 30th or 40th. We all know. So just be patient. Take your time. Everything will settle itself out. If we can revisit this, honestly, we can revisit this conversation if we get to like late November, maybe early December, and the Texas is in the position that they are now. But I doubt it. They're going to get their guys sooner or later. It may come a little later than what people expect, but just be patient. Everything will be fine.
Yeah, and I do like the guy that Texas just got too. I really like his game. Cade Phillips, 6 foot 170 out of Missouri City. Really like his game. I think that was a great win. Texas wanting to do some work in the secondary. And this is a tough thing, right? Whenever we're talking Texas, I think, and don't quote me, Jay, by all means, correct me, please. The biggest emphasis for them on the recruiting trail right now is defensive line. I'm not saying that there aren't phenomenal defensive linemen in this class. There are. But this isn't like last year's class or the year before where it was so loaded with defensive linemen. This year is a little bit thinner on the defensive line front of recruiting, so you really got to be in there with your evaluations. Why do I bring that up? You have a brand new defensive line coach. You don't have Bo Davis anymore. And I'm not saying that guy's not going to be successful. Not my contention. I don't know yet. Right? I give everybody the benefit of the doubt until given a reason not to. So I don't know that he's not going to pan out. Hey, I hope he does. I really hope he does. But you're going to have to really evaluate this year because a lot of these top defensive linemen, they're already committed. So now it's about finding you a Simmons, right? Where you turn on the film, you evaluate, and you're like, yeah, we just got a gym, right? Yeah. It's about finding you those guys. So that's kind of an interesting place for Texas recruiting as well, is that their biggest need, or at least what I believe to be their biggest need on the recruiting trail. Like I say, Jay, if you're still in there, please correct me if I'm wrong on that. It's one of those classes where it's like, yeah, this is an interesting time. It's not as full, in my opinion, as years prior, and you have a new defensive line coach. So going to be interesting. Anthony says, Ty, it's a little bit of revisionist history with Mario specifically. People forget he won multiple Pac-12 championships with Oregon. How can he be a horrible game manager? The Pac is now a lot better. Like what we saw last year, and it's so ironic, Anthony, yeah, thank you very much, Jake. It's so ironic to me that the year that the Pac died, it's the best we've seen the Pac-12 in years.
It's the 90s.
Top to bottom. Arizona was dangerous, right?
God, yeah, they were good.
And in fairness, like where I do agree with what Dang Trojan or Trojan Fight, I forget which one of the USC fans said, they were like, hey, we played a real tough schedule this year.
Mm-hmm.
Fair. Y'all know how much respect I have for Kyle Whittingham and Utah, right? I have a ton of respect for that team. Oregon, real tough team. DeBoer came into the Pac-12 and went 25-3.
Yeah.
Inherited a 4-8 program, went 25-3. The Pac was really good this past year, and I grant you that. But Anthony, while that's true, he did have that success. It now has to happen at Miami, and we just need to see it happen, right? It was one of those things where this not kneeling the ball, that's not the first time it's happened. That's not the first game he's lost because he didn't kneel the ball with seconds left. And one dot is meaningless. A bunch of dots start creating a line and a pattern. And that's where I start taking notice. Gentlemen, last topic of the evening, because I got to get some dinner before the 8:00 show rolls around. So Jake and I already talked about this, right? And I understand that Keilon Russell now has his 5th star per 24/7 Sports Composite. now a top 5 quarterback in the nation per the 24/7 Sports Composite. But I was a little disappointed whenever the re-rankings came out and he's still not a 5-star on 3. And I get it. I understand before anybody comments, but that doesn't matter, Ty. It'll work itself out. I agree on all fronts, but there's also what's earned. And let me unpack this for a second. We're talking about a guy that took over Duncanville his sophomore year, went 15-0, won a state championship in Texas 6A. We're talking about a guy that this past year went 14-1, won a state championship in Texas 6A. That's 2 state championships. He then goes to the Elite 11. For anybody out there saying, well, maybe he's not a 5-star because he plays for Duncanville and it's such a talented team. You're right. Duncanville is incredible. Decorian Moore is a monster, an absolute phenom. Love his game. I've watched him. He's incredible. You think the film looks good? Go sit in the stadium and watch him work. What I will say, watch how he doesn't have to adjust for the ball. He's great, but it's a symbiotic relationship. For my It's Always Sunny fans out there, symbiotic, no? He gets him the ball. But I would raise you this. He then goes to the Elite 11, doesn't have the Duncanville talent, goes head-to-head with all these other great quarterbacks. I've been quoted as saying this is the best quarterback class, in my opinion, in the past few years. It's in that conversation as the Jackson Arnold, Arch, Nico class, right? I do believe that there's an argument to be had, and we'll have that in the next few years. He wins Elite 11 MVP. Well, then, wouldn't you know it, he goes to the Rivals 5-star camp. He wins MVP there. So I agree with you. Will it probably happen that he'll be a 5-star for on 3? Yeah, I agree. It probably will. Do I agree with you that if he is only a 4-star, one of the top 50 players in the nation, we know what he can do? Yes, I agree with you. But I also think that what's earned should be given. What more does he have to do? Does he have to three-peat in Texas 6A high school football to get that 5-star? Does he have to throw for 80% completion? Is 72% completion percentage in Texas 6A football not good enough? Does he have to win more MVPs in the camp setting? He already won Elite 11 over some of the phenomenal quarterbacks that are ranked over him. What does he have to do? I understand that this may seem meaningless. I understand that this may seem trivial, and you are well entitled to those opinions. But I am of the mindset that it has been earned. And my question remains, what more does he have to do? Jay, I want to start with you on this. We'll end with Jake. Answer me this question. What more does he have to do to get this 5-star?
Sell his soul. I don't know what else he can do. I mean, he won the Elite 11. He won the Rivals camp. I don't know what he needs to do. He's a back-to-back state champion on the toughest. I mean, we talk about the toughest the divisions or toughest leagues in high school football. I would say that Texas 6A is the toughest, or is the second toughest. Obviously, the first one being the Trinity League. But I don't know what he needs to do. I mean, he had 2 great seasons, back-to-back seasons. And the funny part is we have seen players earn their 5-star based off of high school statistics. We've seen it done. So this is, again, this is why for me, like I said, I don't want to bring anybody down, or I don't want to try to, I'm not a recruiting expert. Right? These guys have been doing this a lot longer than me, but sometimes you got to question people's evaluations. Sometimes you do got to question the people's evaluations. And sometimes, I'm going to be honest with you, have these people played the game of football? Had they played the game of football? How in the hell do you not see, based off of the film, based off of what he's done at the high school level, and and what he's done at the camp setting, he's 3 for 3. In terms of their preferences, this is what they said, right? You got it right. Number one, you got to have great high school film. It has to be, it has to be a part, right? It has to be right. You have to separate yourself from the rest of the pack. Number 2, you have to be dominant in camp settings. That's what they said. right? And the number 3, of course, is is record, high school success. That's a big factor. It's just inconsistent. It's just inconsistent. There have been players where I'm like, how the hell did this kid even? No disrespect. How the hell did this kid get a 5-star? And then there are other situations where I'm like, how in the hell did this kid not get a 5-star? And there ended up being 3-star guys, late 4-star guys. I don't know. I don't know what the criteria is anymore. And honestly, I'm going to be completely honest. I don't care anymore. I literally don't care. Like I said, I trust my eyes. I trust what I see during the tape. I trust based off of what they've done throughout their high school career, and who is coaching them and who has kind of developed them to this point. Whether if it's personal trainers, high school coaches, in terms of who are their mentors, right? Who are the people that are in their life that they listen to? There's a lot of things that you can instantly tell. You don't have to be a recruiting expert to tell if a kid has the potential of being great. And so, I look at Keilon Russell and he's got all the intangibles. He's got the leadership. He's got the on-field intangibles. A lot of people, and Jake has said this plenty of times, when players simply want to play for him. Players simply want to be around him. Coaches simply want to be around him. He has great IQ, right? There's nothing that they do at these camp settings, man, and that's testing a player's IQ in terms of diagnosing plays, and especially situational play calls, right? What in this situation, what would you call? And Keilon Russell aced every one of them. He never failed the test. So I don't know what it takes for him to get a 5-star, but it is what it is at this point. Honestly, I just don't care if you can demote him to a 3-star. I don't care. I know what he's going to be like as soon as he comes to the University of Alabama and the potential that he has, and that's all I pretty much care about. Now, again, it sucks for these players. I think it's the ultimate disrespect where a player works his ass off to try to earn that 5-star, right? Especially because nowadays earning a 5-star is way more important to these players because it increases your NIL value, right? So that's potential more endorsements. That's more endorsements. That's more NIL opportunities for these players in the future. So it's not like how it used to be when you didn't get your 5-star. Yes, it's disrespectful to the player, but it is what it is. Nowadays, you're playing with that dude's money. You're playing with his money. And honestly, like I said, you lucky I'm not Keilon Russell, because I'll be going off. Because now you're messing with my money that I could like I said, you ain't gonna mess with my time. You definitely ain't gonna mess with my time. You ain't gonna mess with my money, especially when I'm showing up. When I don't have to, I don't got to show up to your camps. I got my scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
What I need, I got the relationships. I don't have to. I'm showing up to these camps because I want to compete, because I want to be the best. And if you're not going to reward me for that type of crap, and you're messing with my money on top of that, we're going to have a problem. We are going to have a problem. So Keilon Russell, he's got a lot of patience, and he's very, very mature, man, because I know I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that if I was him. But it is what it is. This has been going on since the installment of these websites that talk about 3, 4, and 5 stars. Players have been getting screwed for years because of this. It's nothing new, but it's just another. So it's just, again, the system. It's not. I wouldn't say it's broken, but there are a lot of times where it is unfair, it's unjust, and the reasoning behind them for them being devalued is not living up to literally the standards that they set. So it is what it is, man. It is what it is.
Jake.
Dang, dude, that was a good take, Jance. Like, I liked it, man. I mean, that was really, really good. I think you made a really good point on like how it affects maybe NIL now. Not something I think a lot of people think about today, but it does affect. It's funny because when you are a 5-star, right, you are going to get a lot of media attention. Media attention means your name is out there. Popularity of your name means you get endorsements. You get what NIL is made for. So very, very good point that you just made, Jance. Like, that was too awesome. I think on my side of it too, is you're right. I do feel like this whole thing. It's interesting too. If it's true, we've heard like that. You can't make a significant, crazy jump in the rankings. It's just too unheard of, right? Because of where he was at. If they would have jumped him as far as they did, then maybe that was like almost too much, and it wouldn't be fair. And some, I don't know if that's true. There's just a lot of stuff around that. I can tell you right now, based on my evaluations of what I've seen in this kid, like he completely, I'm going to be honest. He's based on what I saw with the new rankings coming out, and this is only with On3, is he is the number 2 player in the nation behind Bryce, right? Over at LSU's quarterback who signed in. I mean, that dude is a hell of a player. Keilon Russ is a number 2 player. The fact that they moved up Notre Dame's commit, the offensive tackle, great player, but does not deserve to be number 2. You're telling me that kid's better than Sanders Jr. and Ty Haywood and some of these other offensive tackles? I don't think so. I mean, he's a great player. For sure. Does he deserve 5 stars? For sure. I'm not ranking on that kid, but I'm saying to move him to number 2 was kind of like eye popping, right? You're like, whoa, this is, me and Ty were sitting there watching it together. We did not expect that at all. Like, we were like, whoa. But you're right. What else does Key Russ have to do? And you have to ask, okay, what are the tangibles they do look at and how do they get to this point? I know they've kind of explained a little bit. Sounds like there's like a recent article or video that came out regarding what they were explaining, the head over there who looks it over and they make these decisions. But it kind of falls down to, okay, who do you have as a team then grading him? What all are you looking at? Is there other aspects that you need to look at to get a better evaluation and a better ranking in general? Because from a composite standpoint, it does affect a player in their future and what they can do now and what they earn based on what you're giving them as a composite. Right. So meaning all of them combined. I disagree with it. That's for sure. I feel like he deserves it now, but I'll tell you what, if there's anything that will give somebody the fire to be that much better, it's something like this. So in a sense, I guess you could say thank you, because you're going to see this kid, right? He's going to come in ready to, he's going to come in ready to prove, you want to talk about length? From the standpoint of call it from Alabama, that's exactly what it is right there. Boom.
100%. And yeah, he is Eric, a composite 5-star on 24/7 Sports. But Jake and I were watching as the rankings were released, and they get to top 5, and I'm like, he's got to be up here, right? Like, I love Tavian St. Clair.
Mm-hmm.
I think that guy's a monster. I have not hid that opinion. I think Tavian St. Clair is a monster. I like Zollers as well. I think he's great.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Keilon Russell just won Elite 11 MVP over both.
Mm-hmm.
Both great quarterbacks, both absolutely worthy of that 5-star ranking. Make no mistake about it. But when they got to the top 5, I was like, yeah, it's got to be Key Russ.
Has to. We said the same thing. We're sitting there watching it together.
Right? Like, he's just won Elite 11 MVP against all of these other quarterbacks that are ranked as 5 stars. Mm-hmm. He won MVP over them. He won Rivals 5-star MVP.
Right. And why isn't he the number 1 quarterback in the country? That's the question. Why isn't he number 1? Screw being a 5-star. Why aren't you? Why? I won everything. I won every major contribution possible. Why am I not number 1? Now you're messing with my money.
Wow, dude, you know what, Jay? Jay, did you see that too? And Ty, did you see that? Like On3, their rankings of Keilon Russ for the Elite 11 were different than everyone else's.
Right.
Russ was like not ranked very high at all. Very interesting.
So how do the people that put on the event that are the really quarterback people have such a different take? I don't know. Because I saw 24/7 had him like as either 39. MVP or co-MVP. I haven't seen where On3 had him, but I'm going to be honest. It doesn't matter where 247 or On3 had him. The people who put on the event had him as the MVP. Mm-hmm. So quite frankly, whether it's Rivals, ESPN, On3, 24/7, your opinion matters little to nothing if the event has him as the MVP. It's Seriously. Their event.
Yep.
I don't know, guys. But we're going to hop off of here. I have got to eat some dinner. I have got another show in 20 minutes.
Gotcha.
Catch me over on the Bama Standard, the final whistle. We're going to be having a great time over there. But I am going to now let these guys right here tell y'all where you can find all of their great content. Jay, I'll start with you and then go up to Jake.
Yeah, you guys can find me at Jant716 on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it. Like I said, if you just want to hit me up, if you want me on your show, or if you just want to have a conversation. Trust me, I've had a couple people that's actually kind of reached out. We had some really good conversations. Definitely follow me on Jant716. I'm about to start a Discord. That's one thing I'm trying to work on now is a Discord channel for football minds, especially when the season starts. Hopefully that we can do that, get that fun, especially when college football comes around and people just want to join in and do online dynasty. That's something that I'm doing. So definitely make sure to follow me on Jet716 for all those particular updates. If you want to watch me, rage quit or just talk football or just talk about whatever about life, I talk literally everything on my channel, Jant Sports on YouTube.
There it is. You all know he's always over here. Go show some love to Jan. It's been a part of this live stream as long as I've been doing it. First person I ever streamed with, first live stream I ever did, Jans was on it. And I'm just very, very blessed to be able to continue doing it with Jans. Jake, tell the people where they can find all your great content. Jeez, I'm all over the place right now.
No, you're
it's
good.
The lack of food.
I know, man. We got to get you eating. Jance, make sure you guys follow Jance. He phenomenal job. Obviously, you guys get to hear his takes every time we do these roundtables and he jumps on. Just great job, man. And I've always enjoyed him ever since I got a chance to meet him, meet Ty, Coach Sean, right? Jason, all the boys that I get to jump on with, man, and talk. Really appreciate every single one of them, and all the channels that have me on as guests. I have my own channel now, right? Set the Tone, Alabama and College Football Talk. It's been fun. It's newer, right? Getting stuff rolling out. I think I have a video dropping today again on some Oregon football, which is a weird one for me. I don't typically cover Oregon stuff, especially considering where I played, but I thought it was something interesting that needed to be covered just because they've been doing some crazy stuff in recruiting. It does not sound like they are done anytime soon. So check that video out. In the meantime, come over, subscribe, follow, share, and then definitely hit the bell notification. I think that's the best way for all of us. If you follow our pages, that we are constantly doing content together, doing it, apart, doing different things. But for you guys to get those updates when we're dropping videos, Ty and me did 2 videos we dropped the other day on his channel. I've just done 2 recent videos. I'll have another tomorrow. So Jay, I know, is dropping a bunch of content. Follow us and get those notifications so that way you can jump in, especially when we go live, so you can enjoy. Like this chat today was great. And we appreciate everybody coming in here. So thank you.
Love it. But let me introduce you to the 4th member of the panel who hasn't been talkative, but always gets the last word. And that's the spinning wheel of doom. And it spins. And spins.